Welcome back, everyone. So we're gonna wrap up some notes today. Then we're gonna start getting into actually some animal relationships. So into some symbiotic relationships. So yesterday you talked about what gas are dissolved in the ocean. That was the last slide you guys had. Now I'm gonna talk about carbon dioxide just briefly. I know this looks like a lot, but a lot of this is actually a little bit of review. If you guys remember sophomore year watching Lethal Seas, which is like the longest movie you probably watched in your sophomore year bio, this kind of ties into that. So carbon dioxide is one of the most important gases dissolved in the ocean, along with oxygen. Oxygen, guys, because they need it, so like animals need it. Carbon dioxide because the plants also need it for photosynthesis. Now, there's other reasons as well. So some carbon dioxide stays dissolved as gas, but most reacts with water to form carbonic acid or reacts with other carbonates to form bicarbonates. This removes carbon dioxide from the water. Now, with that being said, bicarbonates are used by many marine organisms to form calcium carbonate shells. So things that's like clams and other organisms of that sort, like mollusks, they have calcium carbonate shells. When these organisms die, some of the bicarbonates return to the water, but a lot of it settles into the seabed. This process locks up carbon that originated as carbon dioxide in the atmosphere for long periods of time. So this is just realistically doing the carbon cycle in the ocean. Now, if we don't have the carbon cycle, we don't have living things. Because without carbon, we don't have any of the organic molecules we need to make our bodies or make plants' lives work. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is what determines how much gas can be dissolved in seawater. So cold water, first of all, holds more gas than warm water. Seawater with low salinity also holds more gas than high salinity water. Because when you have a lot of salinity or high salinity, there's not as a lot of space for those wow, I lost my train of thought. When you have high salinity, there's not a lot of space for you to actually dissolve gas in. Low salinity, there's a lot more space. Now, deep water, which has high pressure, holds more gas than shallow water. Pretty simple. Now, today we're going to get into animal relationships. So the first thing we need to talk about is what is symbiosis? Like, what does this mean? You might have remembered a little bit of this from sophomore year. You might have actually heard this other terms as well. But what is symbiosis? So symbiosis is a close and long-term interaction between two or more different biological species. So they have to be different. Now, this means animals live and work together in a way that is helpful to at least one of the species and only to one of the species. It can be both, but only has to for sure be one. Now, we're going to go over three types of symbiotic relationships. The first one's going to be mutualism, the second one's going to be commensalism, and the third one's going to be parasitism. So, first thing is mutualism. It says, what is mutualism? Mutualism is a relationship between individuals of different species where both individuals benefit. So, for example, things like clownfish and sea anemones. Now, clownfish live in the tentacles of the sea anemone. The clownfish protects the anemone from an enemy eating fish, and the stinging tentacles of the anemone protect the fish from predators. So, you guys remember from Finding Nemo in the very beginning scenes when Nemo is in the sea anemone with his dad? That is what we're talking about here. Now, there's also another one that doesn't actually deal with the ocean, but I still think it's pretty cool. It's bullhorn acacia trees and stinging ants. Now, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but you guys can read it down below. But what I do recommend is like you Google bullhorn acacia trees and stinging ants and just watch a video of it. It's pretty neat. And these ants don't feel the best. I got stung by a couple or bit by a couple, whatever, how you ever want to word it. When I was in Costa Rica, as we actually look at these acacia trees as well, but they're pretty sweet. Okay, they live in like little like horns, almost like little teepees. So it's kind of sweet. But mutualism, guys, clownfish, sea anemones. Is there a whole bunch of other mutualistic relationships out there in the ocean? Yes. Okay, but that's just one example. Now, there is commensalism. So commensalism is a relationship between two living things where only one benefits and the other is not significantly harmed and or helped. So remoras and sharks. So remoras, I'll show you as a picture on the next slide, will attach to sharks and use a shark as a free ride. The remoras will also eat the parasites that may be found on the shark's skin. This does not hurt the shark at all, but it does benefit the remoras. Now, depending on who you talk to, they sometimes are going to say that this commensalism relationship might be mutualistic. Those parasites that are on the shark potentially get them sick, but it depends realistically what you're looking at and who you're talking to. I read a whole bunch of different articles, and it was pretty much 50-50 mix of what they believed. So for now, we're just going to say it's commensalism. If you want to push it as mutualism later, go right ahead. Okay, but it is a good example. So a remora on a shark looks something like this. There's a remora here. There's a remora here. Realistically, they just attach on and kind of move their way around the thing. They eat all the parasites, but the shark doesn't mind. Okay, they don't add a lot of extra weight to them. They just kind of go with it. The remora for sure gets a free ride and gets some free food. And the shark realistically just hangs out. Okay, it's just laying around. Now the last one is, what is parasitism? So parasitism is a relationship where one member of a species benefits while the other is harmed. So for example, there's a thing called fish lice, which is a crustacean, so it's related to crabs, lobsters, and shrimp, but it can cause disease, open wounds, stunted growth, irregular behavior. I'm going to show you a picture of these, and they're kind of gross. So if you guys think of like head lice, it's not what you want. They're nasty. Now fish lice is kind of the same exact thing, but they like attach to their gills, attach to their skin, and they like cause open wounds and all this nasty stuff. So if we look at this, these little yellow dots here are all fish lice, and they attach to their gills. Now, lice eat on blood. And for a fish, one of the most vascular places on their body is their lungs, or is their gills. Okay, so they can get a lot of blood from here and a lot of nutrients from their gills, hence why they attach there. Now, this is also another lice, and it just attaches to their face. Guys, I was reading that sometimes this irregular behavior isn't that they're like getting controlled by these parasites, but it's like they're trying to rub something off of them. So this fish, that's probably not comfortable for it. It's covering its eye, probably not nice for it, probably affects its gill movement. So they're going to try to rub this thing off. Now, does it mean it's going to come off? No. So they actually might stop eating and have stunted growth because they're trying to get this off so much, which could lead to death. So that actually leads us into our last thing. So we have mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. Now there is 2 videos right here, guys, that I recommend you watch. I'm going to show these today in class. The first one is pretty sweet. The second one is just a couple more relationships that deal with the ocean. Just remember, guys, I'm trying to spark your interest in something so then you have an idea what you want to do for your final project. If you guys have any questions, concerns, issues, please reach out to me. Other than that, talk to you guys later. Bye.